Opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Shaw Cable Systems or of the station. Through our access policy, we provide the opportunity for community groups and individuals to express their points of view.
Hi, I'm Lyle Johnson, the host of Moose Jaw This Week, and today we're on a road trip. We're actually at the airport in Regina, YVR? YQR, which is, of course, the Regina Airport, and it's an authority, and Jim Hunter, the director of operations here, among other things.
President and CEO of the Regina Airport Authority.
Did you get coffee with that too?
Yes, I do actually.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, that's a good thing.
We have a Tim Hortons here. Two of them actually.
Oh man! You probably have your own card. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got all that.
But Jim, of course, people recognize you from the time that you spent in Moose Jaw as a wing commander, and you left Moose Jaw, went south and went west, and then came back to Canada, and now you're back here in Saskatchewan, where you should be.
Well, it's always been a pleasure to be back here, and believe it or not, I've been in this position now for over 5 years.
I know, that's crazy. That's just crazy.
Time flies when you're having fun, Lyle, and this place is still fun.
And of course, people need to. I know that they understand that, but this is not a government agency. This is completely a board that's run to, it has to function on its own success in terms of financing and support. And you've been brought in to do that, and you're having really good success here.
Well, we've been fortunate in that the economy in Regina and southern Saskatchewan has been booming over these last few years, as you know. But just to clarify, we are what's known as an airport authority, and most of the major airports in Canada are set up this way now. We lease the land from the federal government. We pay about $750,000 annually to the government to rent it for the privilege of running the airport. But we get no help financially from any level of government. We have to generate our own funds, so the airport improvement fee, which we charge $20 per outbound passenger, is our major source of revenue, but there are constraints on how we spend that money, mostly towards infrastructure and improvements at the airport. As you see over my shoulder there, that's a picture that was taken after we redid our runways, for example, in 2011. And we had some more projects this past year as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're talking about today, is the improvements that have taken place here. Now, anybody that's been to the airport in the last 2 years knows there was construction, and now it's a bigger place.
It is, and we were able to do it within the constraints of the exterior walls of the building, which saves us a lot of money, actually. So what we've done is we moved the counters of the check-in counters of the airlines back about 12 feet, and we're in the final stages of removing a large elevator shaft that was on the inside of the building. It's now on the outside of the building, and that will give us enough space in the check-in hall to, we think, take care of the passengers that we're projecting that will come through here until about 2021, 2022 timeframe. What we also did, Lyle, is we filled in an open space above the check-in desks, and that gave us another 180 seats post-security in our hold room up there. We also now have a modest retail outlet up there, as well as the good old Tim's on the go as well. So what that does then again is allow us to step back, have a breathing space, and try and figure out when the next major expansion will be coming down the line and how we're going to cope with that. And
that's a really important thing for passengers, because when they come here, it's not a stressful, closed-in feeling. You have a comfort factor built in, and of course airlines appreciate that kind of thing, because when people are traveling, they don't want to be cooped up. They're in the plane long enough that.
Well, it's far more open space in the main concourse here, and we had a media day when we opened all this, and of course that day, this past winter, there was a couple of delays of large airplanes that were going to places south, so our hold room was full. But when the media went around and talked to the passengers there, they loved it. To a person, they all just appreciated what we'd done, and much more space up there, much more open.
But you haven't just limited yourself to develop inside the building. you've actually done some improvements in the safety area.
We have. We acquired 2 new firefighting vehicles this last year, so we're state-of-the-art in that respect. They're 6x6 Rosenbauer Panthers, I believe they're called. They have quite a few more capabilities than our old fire trucks, but of course all the new fire trucks are cleverly designed to be 4 inches wider than the doors on our old fire hall, so we had to expand our fire hall by about 1/3 as well, but it allowed us also to do some much-needed maintenance on our fire hall at the same time, so we're set there for the next 15 to 20 years as well.
So those are really positive things, and people are coming here and looking at it, and they're kind of proud. Like I know I've flown out of here in the last couple of years. We wave as we're passing the hallway, and places I'm going to, like Victoria, isn't near as nice as here.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that, but the city itself is pretty nice, especially in winter, no, what we're trying to do here is make the passenger experience as pleasant and as memorable as possible. We want people to fly out of here. We do have competition, of course, and we want to make this place the desired place to go.
Now, how are we doing for airlines coming in? And you've had some expansion in some of the outward moves here. Some carriers have actually increased the amount of service they provided to us.
Well, we're in a battle right now just to maintain our current domestic services. There's been some changes in that respect in equipment rather than routes. For example, Air Canada is now using a Q400 turboprop on its Calgary routes. Because it has an increased seating capacity over the small RJs that used to fly there, they've reduced the flights there from 4 to 3, but there's an increased capacity of about 25 seats a day, so that's not a bad trade-off. WestJet's also announced that they're going to replace one of their 737s also on the Calgary route with one of these Q400s when they bring them in this summer. So we maintain the frequency there that we otherwise might have lost had they not had that flexibility of aircraft type. So there's that aspect of it, but on the plus side, of course, our charter business is booming. We're up about 12%, I think, over we were last year.
Has nothing to do with the winter, right?
Nothing at all, of course. Plus, our transborder routes continue to thrive as well. We have 2-a-days to both Minneapolis and Denver and 1-a-days to Chicago. Development on the Chicago route is right now we share that route with Saskatoon. The aircraft flies from Chicago to here and then on to Saskatoon. Around the 27th of August, I think it is, that route will be split and both cities will have nonstop service. So our flight to Chicago will originate here, which we like better than having it fly in from Saskatoon.
It's interesting you could bring that up because I was at the walking track in Moose Jaw this morning and the lady had just come back from Chicago using the service here. And she said it was a wonderful trip, quick, fast, and really enjoyed that opportunity of being able to fly out of Regina and not having to go somewhere else to get that.
Well, we say one stop nonstop, and really that's what Denver and Chicago and to a lesser extent Minneapolis allow us to do. Of course, O'Hare is one of the major airports in the world, and what I didn't know until we started our Denver service, the last time I looked, Denver was the 10th busiest airport by passenger volume in the world. So really you can connect anywhere out of Regina with one stop now.
And that's pretty. Now, we're talking about good things that have happened in the past year. Where are we going?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the expansion projects that we just completed this past year give us some breathing space to step back and work very closely with our board and some consultants to figure out what our next major expansion to the terminal building is going to be. We know that we're going to take it north. We have a concept already approved by our board. Really what we have to figure out is, well, when do we start this expansion? What trigger points do we have to determine by passenger throughput, passenger volume, that will then initiate the next phase of construction? And oh, by the way, how much of that project do we undertake in that first phase as well? These are the stuff that's going to make our heads hurt over the next year or two while we sit back and try and figure all this stuff out.
And that's the outside. How the runways? Are you happy? We redid them in 2011. Any thoughts of expansion or necessary thing there?
We're pretty constrained on the runways. We're very happy with the project. We milled and resurfaced both runways in one season, which worked out pretty well. Well, we had a good summer, if you recall, that year. But as far as lengthening the runways go, we're pretty constrained now. The city is growing around us here, and to our north we have the CP line plus depot division of the RCMP. We might be able to expand our runway there maybe by 1,000 feet within the wire, but any major expansion of the runway I don't think are in the future here. There's just no room. And
of course this expansion would be if the aircraft were available that we wanted to come fly into here, and of course the aircraft that we need in our community here, we don't need anything that's huge, I don't think.
No, the smaller aircraft fly in and out of here. We have to remember, like it or not, we're at the end of a spoke, and we feed the hubs, Calgary, Toronto, that sort of thing. So we have to react to that fact of life, and we do end up with some of the smaller aircraft, but that's okay. As long as those connections exist and the frequencies and capacities exist, we're fine.
Yeah. So what kind of growth do you project each year? Like, because I remember hearing you on television talking about a 5 or 10% growth per year almost.
We worked very hard with our board in our strategic thinking to try and figure out what our growth would be over the next 20 to 30 years, even 40 years, up till about 2050. And we came up with a number of about 2.6% compounded per year is what our planning figure is. Of course, last year we were up 3.9%, and this year so far to the end of March we're up 3.8%. So this then is part of the factor that we take in this next year or two as to when we start the next expansion. Clearly, you know, we're exceeding our growth projections, but then the year before, of course, we were 1.9, so it kind of balances out a bit.
What about, there's a lot of corporate development in the community. Is there more corporate jet traffic into here?
We've seen an increase. If you look over at the general aviation area here on the north side of the terminal, you'll see, pardon me, on the south side, you'll see quite a few more corporate jets being parked there in and out. We don't really keep track of that, but it's something that we have noticed.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like the different companies and major corporations in the province are starting to look at this, and of course, you know, they travel quickly.
And we receive inquiries from time to time about expansion of that area. You know, business models have to be created for these, and so it's a long process. But I have no doubt if the economy keeps up this way that we'll see that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, Jim, believe it or not, we're into our last minute already.
My goodness.
Yeah. So, any things that we want to, anything else you'd like to touch on?
Well, we just stress that it's your airport, and by that we mean if you don't use this airport because we don't receive any government funding, the people that come through here, it's a user-pay system. So if you want this airport to continue to thrive, continue to use it. We have lots of service now. Transborder, we have lots of charter service. WestJet continues its flights to Las Vegas, for example, well into June now. So come to us, fly out of here, and we'll continue to thrive and provide a great service.
And even the parking has improved in the sense that you take your card and just do it before you. It's a wonderful way of doing it.
Yeah, we want you to pay inside rather than go out and face the elements these days. So that's worked out very well now.
That's great. Well, thanks very much, Jim, for taking time.
Oh, my pleasure.
It only took us like how long? Like 2 months to get this done.
Yeah, not a problem at all.
Well, thanks to you for doing this today.
Thank you a lot. Pleasure.
And when we go on, we're going to another place in Regina and talk more about things related to moose jaw. So don't go away. We'll be right back.